This is what happens when you have an overproliferation of guns, and it's to be expected to a certain extent.
Is there a sinister intent behind the anger that they are showing?
Clearly, we saw that during the campaign, which people talk about things like, lock her up, and we saw some of the most crude political language.
And that's just some of the coverage in the aftermath of the shooting that critically injured House Majority Whip Steve Scalise and 4 others. Let's bring in Howard Kurtz, who is writing a piece titled, "Shooting at GOP Gathering is a Time for Unity, Not Partisan Finger-Pointing." And Fox News media analyst Howard Kurtz joins us now with more on that. Hi, Howard.
Hi, Heather.
So the piece that you're writing, we were just discussing here with Steve Rogers, the reaction of the media and how you can blame that on this type of event.
I am sick and tired and downright depressed over, even amid these calls of unity, even as the country is heartbroken over what happened on that baseball field near here in Alexandria, that there are still some on both sides of playing the partisan blame game in the media and in politics, not able to separate what happens in terms of media coverage and commentary from a guy, this guy Hodgkinson, who, yes, he hated President Trump, despised Republicans, he volunteered for Bernie Sanders, and he loved Rachel Maddow. That doesn't mean that it's Bernie Sanders or Rachel Maddow's fault, or liberal commentators who may go too far in terms of the tone of their criticism, but we have to separate that from somebody who takes a gun to a baseball field.
Yeah, and speaking of political leaders, you were going to tell us about something with House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi today as well.
Yeah, this really struck me because in the House yesterday, Paul Ryan gave such an uplifting talk about an attack on one of us as an attack on all of us. And Nancy Pelosi, the House Minority Leader, associated herself with his remarks and said she prayed for both Obama and Trump. And then this morning, if we have that clip, asked a question. She was talking about the role of Fox News in a case where somebody was threatening her. Do we have that?
I think a lot of vitriol and invective. I mean, one of the people that went to jail for threats to me, eventually, when they finally found him, because he was very resourceful in hiding, when he was being tried, his mother said, he just watches too much Fox TV. That's what she said.
So think about that for a minute. So the mother of this guy who was convicted, I guess, of threatening Pelosi said he watches too much Fox. He got his ideas from Fox. That is guilt by association. It's exactly what we are trying to fight against now in the wake of this latest tragedy. It doesn't have anything to do with Fox News. People watch all kinds of shows. They read all kinds of websites and newspapers that they happen to agree with. That's the little difference between then threatening somebody's life or taking a gun to a baseball field. And I said the same thing when Gabby Giffords was shot, the Democratic representative, 6 years ago, and some tried to blame it on Sarah Palin. New York Times editorial page actually revives this discredited argument because she had put out a political map, 20 Democratic districts marked with crosshairs. It wasn't Sarah Palin's fault. It's not Maddow's fault. It's not Sanders' fault. It's the fault of these individuals. Yes, we all need to tone down the rhetoric a bit. It has gotten out of hand on both sides, but the finger pointing, I think a lot of Americans are sick of it.
Yeah, but how do you manage to do that and still protect our freedoms at the same time?
Well, I'm all for a robust debate over all the policies that divide us, and this country is based on the idea that we sort of go to war politically. And so nobody's talking about infringing free speech or anything. But as these shootings and these other kinds of attacks remind us after each one, there's always this sort of a moment where the calmer voices say, and President Trump did this effectively yesterday, I thought, say that we need to watch our tone and not demonize the other side. And once again, even after this tragedy, Steve Scalise still in critical condition. I see that happening again.
Yeah, you have to take personal responsibility for what you say. Also what you say on social media, because that allows these comments and these ideas to be spread so much more quickly. Republican Congressman Gary Palmer of Alabama, he was caught in the middle of the congressional shooting. He says that the media needs to help bring down the rhetoric as well. Listen to him.
I think you'll see it from leadership on both sides of the aisle. But we've got to see it, I think, in the entire community of America. It's got to come from the media. It's got to come from the pundits who work social media. It's not just the rhetoric from the politicians. It's across the board.
Yeah. So it's a different world when you bring social media into it.
Yeah, I agree with that. The mainstream media need to watch it, and again, you know, not trying to stifle debate in any way, shape, or form, but there's so much toxicity and, frankly, hatred on social media. It can be a great thing, but can also be a very ugly thing, and that can contribute to this climate. Again, I make a distinction between even with the horrible thing that Kathy Griffin did and this Shakespeare play, that should be condemned. But even there, to go from that to saying, well, it's their fault, it's your fault, it's his fault, it's her fault, because somebody opened up and fired 50 rounds or 50 shots at Republican congressmen practicing baseball for a charity game, that's where I draw the line.
Just on second base and now fighting for his life in critical condition. All right, thank you so much, Howard Kurtz. Thanks.
Good to see you.